Hey everybody, welcome to episode 67 of the Joys of Games podcast. We're recording this on a Wednesday evening, October 25th, 2017. I am one of your hosts, Josh Brown. I am joined by the man who is currently, right now, in line for Super Mario Odyssey, which releases in just under 24 hours, Colin Wheeler. Hi, Colin.
Hey, rain or shine, I'm going to be here. I'm going to camp. I've been camping here for about, 37 days now.
Yeah.
The last couple of podcasts, sorry, the audio quality was bad, but I mean, between the rain and the thunder and honestly, it's cold too. Like,
yeah. We need to stop podcasting while you're in line waiting for stuff.
Well, it's fine. I'm inside my sleeping bag, so it's fine.
That's good. Tent?
No.
Ooh, under the stars, huh?
I mean, yeah, that's the beauty of it.
Sure. Well, it's a good thing we have decent weather this week. I'm sure last week was miserable for you, but hey, it's how things happen, right?
I'm having my own Odyssey while waiting for my virtual Odyssey to begin.
Can't wait. No, that's the reason why we're actually recording on a Wednesday night, because Best Buy is doing their 9 p.m. Pacific time store openings for the release of Mario Odyssey, and you and I will both be attending our local Best Buy events. I heard they're giving out posters too.
Some locations are. I'm not sure which ones. I will say that people that are listening on the East Coast, it's still midnight for you guys. Sorry. Yeah. So it's 9 p.m. Pacific. And I think GameStop and Walmart are doing it as well at 9 p.m. So.
Yeah, I'm excited. That game can't come soon enough, man. I feel like I've waited for years for this game.
Yeah. Well, since honestly for me, and 3D World was great, but I feel like Galaxy 2 was like the last, and even that wasn't open world, but I still feel like it was the last like big 3D Mario game that came out. Yeah,
it's weird. It's Mario games are just, I don't know, man. They're special. Like the big 3D ones are special. I don't know. This is just, it feels like this is a game that we don't deserve, considering that we got Breath of the Wild 6 months ago.
Yeah, absolutely. Like it's just insane to me that we have, for me anyway, my two favorite Nintendo franchises, and we get an iteration of both of them in the same year. It's just like, it's so good. Yeah. So good.
The sad part is, like, it'll be years before we get these games again.
Yes, it'll be 5 years. Unless they pull a Majora's Mask with the Breath of the Wild engine, which I'm all for.
Yeah. Anyway, this is the Nintendo episode. This is the PlayStation episode. This is going to be a very special episode. We are going to revisit the potential game of the year, Knack 2. We got about an hour-long discussion about how good Knack 2 really is. We're going to dive deep into the Knack lore. It's going to be a fun show, Colin. You ready for this?
I mean, I am, but what is the Knack lore? Can you just open it for me?
Okay. Have you ever played this game called Destiny?
I've heard of it.
Okay. Pretty deep lore, right? And you have to go beyond the game to get into that lore.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty deep. Okay, now imagine what all it takes to get into the Destiny lore as a drop in the bucket compared to the lore that goes into the Knack universe.
Okay,
go on. It's incredible. Yeah. I don't think there's enough time tonight in this podcast to fully even scratch the surface as to the Knack lore. It's incredible, my friend.
Okay. All right.
No, actually, folks, for those of you still listening, we are not talking about Knack 2 on this show, unfortunately, much to Colin's sadness. It's not going to happen tonight, Colin.
Hey, man, it's not my sadness. It's Mark Cerny's sadness. He wants everybody to talk about his rich, deep lore of Knack.
I mean, we did. We gave it its due justice. But we have to move on.
Hey, you did. I don't want to be a part of your crimes.
Uh, crime is a heavy word, Colin. I
It
don't
is
really like that word.
it is heavy, but it's a part of the knack lore, so it's fine.
There are crimes.
Hmm.
Um, against humanity, possibly,
Against
possibly.
all video games.
Yeah. No. This week, yeah, it's tough because next week we have the Paris Games Week. Sony is having a press conference there. Nothing huge really ever comes out of Paris Game Week, but like tidbits, little news drops. Every once in a while, a release date or two will get thrown up, but we don't expect much from it. But we could definitely have more news if it wasn't for that, because everybody's kind of buttoned up in anticipation for that. And then in December is the PSX big event, and that's where it's going to be all Sony news, all the good stuff. So that'll be fun. But yeah, this week it's not the most exciting time news wise. Also because everybody's like releasing games, like that has something to do with the news cycle. So yeah, I don't, there's a big sale on the PSN for scary and spooky games.
What's your favorite scary and spooky game?
Like this year or in general?
Ever.
Man, I this is going to sound hard to believe because it just happened, but I still think about what an incredible experience Resident Evil 7 in VR was.
Yeah, man, because I could see why you would say that, because it is a completely new way to play. It's like playing from the 16-bit era, going to, PlayStation 1 and playing Resident Evil 1. It's just like a revelation of a different type of way to play a game.
Yeah. It was mind-blowing. And I've played a lot of scary games in my time, like the original Resident Evils, Silent Hills, drawing a blank here. Another scary games. What was that GameCube one?
Eternal Darkness.
Eternal Darkness. That was pretty frightening. What were the games with the photo mode?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
Uh-huh.
I don't know what it is, though.
Paradise?
No, not
Nope.
Paradise.
Where you take pictures of ghosts.
Yeah, I don't remember. I know what you're talking about, though. They came out with a Wii U one, didn't they?
They did, yes. Yeah. Did it come to America, or was that just in Japan?
Oh, I have no idea.
I think
it was so late.
Just Japanese.
Yeah, it was so late in the Wii U life cycle. Like, yeah, what was that game?
Oh,
I don't remember.
Paranormal Activity keeps popping in my head, but I know that's not it. Scary camera video game.
While you look that up, I'll tell you a couple of my favorites.
Fatal Frame.
Fatal Frame.
Yeah,
that's right.
Outlast was also frightening as well.
I never played Outlast. One of my favorites is Condemned.
Mm-hmm.
It was an original Xbox, it was a Xbox 360 launch game, and it was a first-person like melee-based game, which I thought was really unique because up until that point, any first-person game was pretty much just shooting, or I guess Morrowind had come out, so you're like hacking, slashing with swords, but like using like pipes and wrenches and anything you could find to fight these like crazed, drugged out people that are attacking you was like super visceral and super scary. And then like your character was going through like a serious mental breakdown, so like you would see things appear, and then when you turn back they disappear. Like that game really creeped me out.
Right.
And then Resident Evil 4, obviously. I mean, that's a classic. It's kind of like in between action and horror, but it's still probably the best quote unquote horror game I've ever played.
I feel like Resident Evil 4 lost like the scariness factor and upped the action after the reveal of the chainsaw guy.
Yeah, there's definitely a build at the very beginning.
Yeah.
But there was also moments too, like less like jump out at you and more like holy crap, what is happening? Like
Sure.
when
Yeah.
the creatures like start evolving from just like the little snake things that pop out to the giant things. Like those are super super scary.
Yeah. I guess you're right. Yeah. Um, do you like horror games? Like, or do you play some? Like what's your level of like enjoyment of horror and scariness?
I used to really really love it. I have not. I just haven't got into the genre. I feel I was thinking about the other day, like I'm actually really itching to play a horror game, especially because Halloween's that time of year. We think of spooky stuff. And I was thinking about picking up Resident Evil 7, just because of the praise that you had given it.
Mm-hmm.
But I also really want to play it in VR, and I don't know. But I like them. It's more difficult for me to play them with my son around because anytime I play something, he always wants to watch, and horror games tend to be really violent and grotesque. So it's harder to play around him.
Right.
And I'm also too much of a wimp to play in my computer area. Um,
Sure.
because it's dark
Yeah.
and I turn the lights off when I play video games and I put headphones on and I feel like maybe I should just do that and just face my fears. I don't know. But I do like horror games generally.
Yeah.
I just don't play as many as I used to.
Yeah. And I mean that kind of all ties back to like why Resident Evil 7 was so special because you're 100% completely immersed in that world. The headphones on, you got the VR headset on, like there's no light or anything else coming in, like you can't hear, you know, people in the room doing other things. Like it's just you and the horror in front of you, and it was so unsettling. Now I can't say for sure I would have had the same experience if I had done the VR after playing the game through like for a first time, going back like my second playthrough being in VR. I can't say for sure it would have been the same. The fact that my VR playthrough was the very first time playing that game just ramped everything up, and it was just horrifying on so many levels. Like I was screaming, I was physically shaking at times. Um, there were points I had to just rip the headset off and just walk away because I was just like, nope, I can't. This is too much. I literally physically can't do this right now. Um,
Oh man,
but I loved every second of it, man. It was
so intense.
good. It was.
I hope that they release that VR mode to PC because I still want to get a VR headset, and I still am like kind of undecided what I want to get. And I'm leaning towards one of those like newly announced Microsoft ones that have like the self-tracking inside of it. You don't have to have like a camera, and it like works with everything, from my understanding, on PC. So I'm hoping, since like Batman got ported over, that eventually they'll do a Resident Evil VR port, and then I can play it that way. Still be scared out of my mind, but I really, just because of your constant praise and like passion for that mode, I feel like I can't play that game not in VR.
Yeah.
So
I mean, like if there's no way at all to play it in VR, like I still think everybody should play that game because it is really good. But man, to experience that game for the first time in VR is just, it's a special experience. It's more than just playing a game. It's 100% an experience that you will never forget. Unless you're a big old tough guy and you just don't get scared of things, you know, which is cool. I watch scary movies all the time, Colin. Like, this is my jam, you know? Like, I live for this kind of stuff, and I was dying in there. Yeah, so good.
what's your favorite horror series?
Like I never really watched them as a kid. I either like didn't know about them. It wasn't that I wasn't ever allowed to. I just don't think I was aware of them. So like I missed out on like the Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street, like seeing those as a child. So I saw them teenager and beyond is when I finally caught up to all that kind of stuff. I weirdly like the Chucky series a lot.
Okay.
I've never really pinpointed why, other than it leans 100% into, we all know this is pretty ridiculous and let's have fun with it,
So it's really the later ones. The first two movies I feel like were more like, this killer doll is really scary and we're gonna do like crazy like shots that are really intense, and then later on they're like, this is really, really silly that this killer doll is still killing people.
Sure. And like that can be said for like all the horror franchises. Like everybody kind of seemed to go that route of like, I mean, Jason in space, like really, like everybody knew like how ridiculous that was, but Chucky, the Chucky series, like took that cheesiness, but like added levels of humor to their movies that Halloween and Friday the 13th like never really accomplished. But like more modern series, like I love the Saw series so much. I just, it's fascinating. Like all the traps, like it's very video game-esque to me. And like I kind of like blood and guts and gore. Like the Hostel movies, I really enjoy. Like that gross out horror is okay with me. And for some people, like it's too much, the body mutilation and that kind of stuff. But yeah, what about you?
So I am similar to you, except my parents would not let me watch them until I was a teenager. And when I was a teenager, I went back and rewatched all the series, all the classic series. Halloween is my favorite series, and the reason why I like Halloween, at least in the first two films, Michael Myers just seemed more like a realistic like person, like a person that could break out of a insane asylum and start murdering a bunch of people. Mm-hmm. And there's just the way that the movie builds tension by showing nothing. Like they'll just have music playing.
Yep.
And then you're like, oh crap, he's somewhere. Where is he? Where is he? And then there'll be like maybe a shot in the distance where you can see that white mask. It was just very unsettling. So Halloween's my favorite series. Some of my favorite horror movies, Exorcist still bothers me to this day. Like, sure. I watched that movie and it still just like gets under your skin and just like makes it just crawl. Ugh. Mm-hmm. And then The Cube. Have you ever seen The Cube?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
The Cube is a very unsettling movie, and the premise of it, for people who haven't seen it, is these people get locked inside of this giant cube, and it has rooms above. It basically has a series of rooms that these people have to try to escape.
Yeah.
And it starts with a bunch of people in this room, and basically there's a doorway that goes straight up, a doorway that goes left, goes right, and goes down. So these people have to basically navigate through this giant cube before they run out of food, before they run out of water, and then each additional room has a trap or is a safe room. So there's just horrifying things happen to these people, and you just, every single time they go in a new room, you're like, uh-oh, what's going to happen? What's going to happen this time? And some people get lit on fire, some people get cut in half, mm-hmm. Some people just like get spikes get through them. Like, it's just really unsettling movie.
Yeah.
And then like the way they end it, I'm not going to spoil it, but the way they end it is just like makes it that much worse.
Yep.
So
yeah. One of my, like, if I was making a list of like my favorite movies of all time, probably like 3 of them are scary movies. Blair Witch Project.
The first one?
The first one.
Have you seen the remake?
It's not a remake.
Oh, no?
No. It's a sequel.
Oh. Did they make a sequel, though?
They made Blair Witch 2, which was a direct sequel, but they kind of pretend like that never really happens. Because
it wasn't a shaky cam, right? It was
no,
just like
yeah, they
standard...
dropped the first person perspective on that movie. So that one was it was okay. Like it had some neat ideas, but didn't really have the same feeling as the first one. But the newer one that just came out, like it is a sequel to essentially both of them.
Okay.
The girl in the first one, the main character, it's now in the future, and her brother is going back into the forest to look for her.
Ugh.
Yeah,
that sounds great.
Right.
That sounds so bad, but great.
Yeah, but they also run into people who had seen the Blair Witch movie that was made off of the tapes that they found from her. Like, there's this whole like fourth wall breaking of like the fact that the original movie is canon and the story is super weird. But yeah, it's modernized, but it definitely has the feeling of that first one, which I really enjoyed. But then I also like the original Ring movie.
Oh yeah, man.
That's just disturbing on so many levels.
Gore Verbinski, the director who did that, I just love his style. He has such like a dark and gross feel to all of his movies. He did the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, and he recently did the Cure for Wellness movie.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that.
His style is so dark. And The Ring, it's a remake of a Japanese movie called Ringu, and I felt like it was a very, very good adaptation versus The Grudge, which the Japanese one is like significantly more violent and like scarier than the one that Sam Raimi put out in the U.S.
Sarah Michelle Gellar just didn't sell it. Was it Sarah Michelle Gellar?
Yeah, and she's a fine actress. I don't think it was her. I think it's just the directing and the script. It just wasn't.
She wasn't believable in that role. Not necessarily it was her fault, but it didn't fit.
Miscast for sure.
Yeah. That was a movie I really wanted to like because I had liked Ring so much. I'm like, ooh, another adaptation from a Japanese horror film. Like, this is gonna be great. And it was like, this is pretty westernized to the point where it lost all of its specialness that it had.
Yeah, and they made it PG-13, which is such a bummer because the original was the original was like really gross, like, and like the death scenes were really scary. And anyway, it's just what a bummer.
Another one though, all-time favorite is Signs.
Really, dude,
that Aliens disturb me so badly on so many levels. I don't know why it just, more so than like ghosts or like serial killers or anything like that, like aliens get to me in ways I have never really been able to fully explain. And that movie, man, I'm usually fine. I've seen that movie probably 30 times in my life, at least. And I know what's going to happen. I like beat for beat. I know that movie backwards and forwards. But the moment when they're sitting around watching the newscast of the guy down in Mexico who's taking the video of his kid's birthday party and that freaking alien walks out from behind the hedge and walks across, gives me goosebumps every time. I can't. It's so unsettling. Oh, I'm getting freaked out just thinking about it.
How do the alien movies do to you then?
No, fine.
Really?
It's aliens on Earth. Aliens up in space, whatever. It's goofy. It's sci-fi. But, like, aliens being here among us, oh boy. Nope, can't do that.
So Men in Black was too much for you?
Yeah. That was hard, Colin. It was hard. Fire in the Sky? Yeah. That movie.
No, yuck. I just think of the eyelid scene. Just makes me.
The thought of touching an eyeball will break me because of that movie. I watched that movie in a drive-in movie theater when I was a kid.
I'm sorry.
That was the worst place to ever watch that movie.
Holy crap.
Yeah. 800-foot screen, needle going right through the middle of an eyeball. Ugh.
X-Files.
Yeah.
What about that?
Big fan.
I love X-Files.
Yeah.
It's coming back again.
Yeah, sure.
Very excited.
Yeah. Why not? Creepy stuff, man. Hey, it's Halloween. Almost Halloween.
It is almost Halloween. I don't even know how we got here, but it is.
I don't know. I'm glad we did, though, Colin. I'm glad we took that journey. So not much. I was talking about the PSN sale on PlayStation.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. About all the creepy and spooky games. A lot of good games on there. Go check it out. If you don't have anything else to play, which is crazy talk, but
I have no idea how you wouldn't. And then the thing about it, too, is like both Xbox and PlayStation have really good free games this month too. So I don't know what to do.
I downloaded Metal Gear Solid 5. I'm like, you know what? I could say with 99% certainty I will never get to this game, but it's too good of a game from what I hear to not at least download.
I feel like that's a game that down the road you're just going to have like an itch to play an open world game that you already have, and you're going to download it and you're going to love it because that game's incredible. I don't even like Metal Gear games, and that game was one of the best games that came out 2 years ago. It was so good.
Yeah. Now it's free.
It's free, yeah.
Speaking of Metal Gear Survivor?
I think it's just called Survive.
Survive? Yeah. That's coming out in February, apparently. They're going for it.
I'm surprised it did not get canceled, but you know what? That's Konami for you.
Yeah. And I feel like by the time it comes out, people are going to be okay with it. They're not going to hate Konami and hate everything that happened with Kojima and everything like that. Like, they'll say, you know what? Maybe this isn't going to be as bad as we thought it was when they initially announced it. We'll see.
I think it will be. I think it'll be just as bad as everyone suspects it to be. Because Konami does not care.
Okay, regardless if it's good or not, I'm saying people will still be... They won't be as mad as they were when it was initially announced. Because I think the Kojima thing was still fresh in everybody's soul. So the thought of them using Metal Gear in another game that didn't involve him was just vile and disgusting. By February, nobody's going to care about that anymore. Now, that doesn't mean the game's going to be good by any means. That's not going to prevent, people from giving it bad reviews. That bad taste in people's mouths will be gone.
Yeah, it's especially now that he's doing his own thing. I think that's another reason why people are really upset because... And I'm trying to think, did it get announced this year? Or is it last year?
What's that?
This Metal Gear Survive. Because if it was last year, then I think Kojima was still
say it was early this year.
Okay, then never mind. I take back what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Take it back. I just... It's such a
because it was well after the Video Game Awards, and that was his coming out party.
Right. Yeah, because he was on media blackout. He couldn't talk about anything. Yeah. Well, I mean, I hope the game is good, and I feel for the developers that are probably seeing nothing but nonstop negative stuff. But it just doesn't seem good to me at all.
But,
but we'll see.
What happen.
Right, that's true.
Polish,
a lot of time.
Polish can do wonders for a game that looks mediocre. So, we'll see. It's a big day in 2 days, Colin. Mario Odyssey, as we talked about. Also, Assassin's Creed Origins is coming out, where we finally go to Egypt.
Looks so good.
No reviews have come out yet, but everybody's pretty high on it.
Yeah, I think it's gonna get. I think it's gonna get 8s and 9s. Yeah. That's my guess.
I'm definitely getting it. I just don't know at this point if it's genuinely finally a really good Assassin's Creed game again, or if the year away from Assassin's Creed just has people excited for a new Assassin's Creed game.
Yeah, I think it's the year away, and if you look at, was it Syndicate was the last one, which was 2 years ago? That one reviewed really well, but not a lot of people played it because they're so bummed out by the prior one, which I can't remember its name, and I remember starting it and turning it off after an hour of playing it.
Yeah.
Because it's just, I'm it's more of the same. I don't need to play this.
Right. So, based on that, I don't know. maybe it's a combination of both. Maybe they made a good game, but maybe they made a good game because they took a year off, and because they took a year off, that Assassin's Creed fans are saying, "Man, we can't wait for another Assassin's Creed game." Whatever, I'm excited.
Yeah, but here's the thing about Assassin's Creed 2 is like they haven't made a bad game in that series.
No.
Or a core game anyway.
Well, Syndicate, what was the one before that?
Well, before that, I still wouldn't consider it a bad game.
It was broken, though. It was broken in so many different ways.
I didn't play very much, but it didn't really break very much. It didn't break at all for me when I played it.
Okay.
But even that one reviewed okay. Like, I think it was the lowest reviewed one out of all of them, but yeah. I wouldn't consider it bad by any means, because I've played some bad open world games.
I would say unfinished, maybe.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely troubled.
Yeah. Limped along. Yeah, so that's happening Friday. Also, the new Wolfenstein game is coming out Friday.
Yes. I'm so excited to kill some Nazis, man.
Yeah. I am 100% on board with their marketing team leaning full into, hey, killing zombies or killing Nazis is great.
Yep.
This is the thing that should happen. There are no, there's not two sides to this argument. We're killing Nazis.
There shouldn't be, anyway.
Yeah. No, I know. But like,
considering the lineage of the game and considering the lineage of the Nazi culture, there should not be an issue with this.
Right. No, there shouldn't be. The fact that it's even a discussion is crazy, but I guess I'm saying that I appreciate them doubling down on the fact that it shouldn't even be a conversation.
I think it's going to just help them. Like, and I don't think they mean for it to be like, well, we're going to get more sales because we're taking a specific political side. I just think people are going to be so like rallied behind that message that I think it's going to help their sales.
Yeah. Either way, they could have gone the corporate route and said, these are just fictional Nazis. Like, we're not, like, violence isn't okay. And, like, they could have done a very stock PR response to the fact that it's even a conversation. But they're just doubling down on the fact that, hey, we're killing Nazis. Like, this is what the game is. Get used to it or don't play the game. Because we're going to kill lots of Nazis.
Yeah, think about like if they had done that, like that'd be such a disservice in the tone of the game. Right. Like it just wouldn't make any sense if they did that otherwise. Because when the game is already done, like it was done far before this marketing campaign has happened, and the premise of the entire dang game is killing Nazis.
I guess like to compare it to something is my worries about the marketing strategy for Far Cry 5. Whereas, like, that's going to draw some very political conversations about it and about, like, what's happening in that game. And I could 100% see them going it's not, like, dancing around the whole thing. Like, I don't think, like, that game has a potential to make some really bold statements. And I don't think that they're going to lean into any of those bold statements that it has the potential to say. Because in the end, they're just going to see it as just a fun game. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry. As you were saying that, all I could think about is playing Far Cry 5, because I totally forgot that game existed.
Yeah, that's February also.
Oh, so good. Yeah. It looks so good.
And we're going to have that game to hold us over until Red Dead Redemption 2.
Oh, so excited.
Think about that. Think about that.
Oh, man. And then Halo 6 is probably going to be next year, too. Oh, man.
Thought this year was good for games.
Spider-Man, God of War. Oh.
Goodness gracious. So excited. Anyway, so those are Friday games. But I want to spend a little time to talk about a game that I've been investing many, many hours into on my PlayStation. That is South Park: The Fractured But Whole. Are you a South Park fan, Colin?
Not really. There are gaming-specific episodes that I have watched that I have really enjoyed, especially the World of Warcraft episode and the Guitar Hero episode. I'm aware of the characters because, like, how can you not be? Even if you're not into South Park, even if you're not into like Simpsons, like you just hear it about them and know about them through the zeitgeist.
Yeah.
So I know of it. Not a fan. the show is just, it's a little bit too much for me, honestly.
Sure. Yeah.
So that's why I don't watch it.
They'll go through, like, I'll go through spurts where I'll watch an episode here or there. Like if I hear or see about like a special episode, like I'll go out my way to find that specific episode or whatnot. I can't remember how long it's been since I've been like an avid, I'm going to watch this every week type of guy. But I've always had somewhat of an appreciation for South Park. Especially like going back to the South Park movie, Bigger, Longer, and Uncut. Like that was like, I think like possibly the peak for South Park. You know, for better or for worse. But I've always liked it. South Park is tricky because they do definitely play multiple sides of every political discussion. They take no prisoners. They go after everybody, which, you know, is kind of tough to swallow sometimes because they do have the potential, like, as creators to, like I was saying with Far Cry, to, like, say some very important things and to, like, hammer certain points home, and then they turn something around into a fart joke, or they turn something around to make it, to play devil's advocate for the sake of just making a joke or a punchline. So that kind of stuff is disappointing at times. But if you go into South Park knowing what you're going to get, there are certain things to be enjoyed from the show. And I think that was true with this game as well. I loved the Stick of Truth that came out a few years ago. It blew me away. I was mainly captivated by the fact that they turned South Park, the TV show, into a video game that you could control, essentially. Like, that was mind-blowing to me. Like, the animation is 100% the TV show. The dialogue, the jokes, like, the callbacks, everything. Like, it was so good. It was so well thought out. And it was so much better than it had any right to be. So, going into this game, I at least expected the quality of the last game. And they've extended the game. They made it longer and bigger. Still not uncut though. That's the combat system is different. It's changed. It's added to. It's more complicated, more complex. The skill trees and stuff, like they've added more RPG elements to the game, which is fun. But yeah, like, I went into the game knowing that, like, this is still going to be South Park. Like, some of the jokes are going to hit. A lot of them are going to miss or be not as funny as, like, a younger demographic might think, you know? I have loved this game so far. Like, there has been some cringeworthy things, but overall, like, the actual playing of the game has been immensely fun. I don't know if it's just the world. I don't know if it's like being kids that are pretending to be superheroes and the whole Marvel versus DC battle that's essentially going on. It's been a lot of fun. My biggest complaint, and this is a big one, Colin, just happened today. I went to play it, and since I've been playing it for like the last week or so, I keep putting my PS4 into rest mode when I'm done playing, which is a feature I often forget about. Mm-hmm. But this is a game that I want to like just pick up the controller and just get right back in. So I've been putting it in rest mode. It's been fine this whole time. So today at lunch, I sit down and start playing it, and like I noticed that the save icon is continuously spinning down the bottom right-hand corner. Just nonstop. I'm like, what? Why is it like still indicating that it's saving? Like, that's weird. So I paused it and went to the save thing, and it wouldn't let me save. Wouldn't let me save or load anything. Done. So I backed out and I went to my PS4 home page and my notifications, and it said that there were 2 errors with uploading save files. Uh-oh. So I click on those, try again. Save files saved and uploaded perfectly. Okay, cool. We're great. Go back to the game. That icon is still spinning. Still spinning away. Won't let me save my progress at all. Nothing. So I have this moral dilemma with myself. Do I ride this out and hope that it eventually stops and it saves and everything's good now that I cleared those misfires and the automatic uploads? That was one option. Just hope everything clears itself up. Second option is maybe it's never going to let me save again, so I just keep playing it and keep putting it in rest mode and just complete the game, and then whatever happens to the save after that doesn't matter because I'll be done. Or I just reset my PS4 right now and hope to God that somehow an automatic save is going to happen in the midst of me turning off my PlayStation.
Ugh.
What do you think I picked, Colin?
Turn off the PlayStation.
I did. I sucked it up because I had this thinking process of if it ruins everything, I'm going to lose maybe a few hours of progress. If I continue down this route and it crashes or something like that, I'm going to lose even more progress.
Yep.
So I'm just going to bite the bullet now and hope for the best. I did it, restarted it. I lost about 2.5 hours of play from last night and an hour of yesterday at lunch. So I lost like 3.5 hours of playtime.
Holy crap, that
sucks.
sucks.
Done. And I just sat there just defeated, like, oh. It's so good though. I want to keep playing. And I don't know if it's the game's fault. I don't know if it's the PSN, the PlayStation Network's fault. I don't know if it was my PlayStation itself, my internet. I don't know who is to blame, but it definitely sucked. So I was just like, well, I guess I'll just start playing again. And I started playing, and Val looks up at one point, and she's like, didn't you just fight those guys yesterday? I said, yeah, we're not talking about that right now. So I'm sad. I'm sad because I was like starting to cruise through the story, and I was like up, leveling up, and everything was going great. But man, such a bummer. Such a bummer when that happens.
Yeah, I've played games where I've gotten pretty far and then it bugs out. Especially I'm trying to remember the specific game. I think it was Fallout 3, and one of the story mission bad guys I was supposed to kill was stuck underneath the map, and the autosave was right before it, and he was stuck underneath the map, and I couldn't kill him, and you have to kill him to beat the game. So this is like, 80 hours of gameplay, like gone in like one autosave.
Right.
I had a manual save, which was like 40 hours prior. Ever since then, I always try to remember to do like a backup save.
Yeah. And see, I hadn't even thought of it because I kept putting it in rest mode.
Well, normally it doesn't matter. Normally, like, it saves automatically. You put it in rest mode, you're good to go. Especially like the Switches spoiled us big time. With that.
I think so, dude. Like
the
that's
Switch is the
stupid.
best version of that because like sometimes the Xbox will resume. Most of the time, the PlayStation resumes okay, but the Switch is like perfect every single time.
The fact that when you're playing the Switch, if you lose power, it goes down to completely zero and it shuts off, and you have to juice it back up. The fact that it saves right before it completely loses power is incredible.
Yep.
Absolutely incredible. Yeah, we're definitely spoiled by the Switch.
Yeah,
so
I think that's what it is. It's that assumption of like, oh, this will be fine, and then like you're not thinking about, oh, wait a second, those other systems actually kind of suck at this. Hold on.
Yeah. So, like I said, I don't know if I want to blame the game. I don't think it's fair to blame the game without knowing what happened, but definitely sucked. But other than that, like I have thoroughly enjoyed it. Do you have any questions or anything you want to know about the game, Colin? Like, what could I do to tell you about this game?
So has all the original voice actors, I'm assuming?
Yeah. Yep. Trey and Matt, like they created the game, they voiced the game. Yeah.
Do they have like cameos of a bunch of different characters? Like, is it a good fan service or is it just kind of
100%? Yeah.
Okay.
Like if you are a fan of the show, like you will get so much fan service that it might be too much at some points. It's just like, stop. But yeah.
I remember renting a South Park racing game for the Nintendo 64.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
and thinking I had at that point I knew of South Park, but like definitely was not allowed to watch it. And my dad would just let me rent whatever, he didn't care. But
Sure.
my mom knew. No bueno. But I remember renting that game and just being like, what in the world? What are they saying that? They can't say that. That's a bad word.
This is a Nintendo console, sir.
So is it censored or is it uncensored when they?
100 complete uncensored.
Is there an option to censor it?
Not that I've seen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
A lot of cool outfits, a lot of cool customization. Yeah, it's there's one point where you go talk to Mr. Mackey, the school counselor.
Is he the MK guy?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay. And you talk to him about your gender identity, your sex orientation, and your gender identity and everything. And I was biting my hands thinking, oh God, please don't do anything that's just going to be really horrible. Like with this, like don't mess this up. If you're going to go there, do it right, And surprisingly, like Val was watching the whole thing and like we were done with it. And she was like, huh, okay, good on them. Like they talk you through like, what it means to, what gender you identify as and whether or not that is associated with the sex that you were born. And it walks it through in a very South Park way, but like at the end of it, it doesn't feel gross at all. It doesn't feel like you did something wrong. Like it was like, okay, they are paying attention to this issue in a way that is refreshing because that's something that you don't see in video games at all.
Well, it's good to hear.
Yeah. Then whatever you end up selecting your character to be and identify as, when you leave the school, a truck full of rednecks pulls up and they start yelling at you for being whatever it is that you are, that you claim to be, that you identify as. And then you get into a fight and you have to take them out. Which if they did that because you decided that you were gay or you identified as transgender or anything like that, like I would have a weird problem with that, right? But when you pick cis, male, heterosexual, like the most stock thing that you could essentially be, like the fact that they still pick on you for that, it's like, okay, regardless of what I picked, they were going to have a problem with it, and that's just showing their ignorance. Like it was very clear that their characters were written to not understand what was going on when you were selecting, your gender and how you identify and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So it could have been touchy. It really could have been, but seeing it from the perspective of, cis white male, it was like, okay, they're still going to pick on me and try to battle me over this. They clearly have no idea what any of these words mean. So, and that's where like the South Park humor kind of came in, but it was touchy, but they nailed it. And that was refreshing because it could have been bad, Yeah.
I always feel like that show kind of borderlines of like, yeah, we're trying to be tongue-in-cheek to, no, you don't actually understand at all.
Yeah.
Like, this is not okay.
Right, yeah.
So, it affects everybody differently, so.
They play to certain audiences, and they like to walk that line of, we don't care who we upset with this joke,
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
But then, like, the next scene, they'll insult, somebody complete opposite of that argument or conversation that's going on. So, kind of all over the place, but yeah, it's the superhero thing, like really I'm really digging. Like I liked it a lot. I am liking it a lot more than I did Stick of Truth, which was like the high fantasy Lord of the Rings type of characters that the kids were portraying. Like this one is superheroes, and there's, the group of kids that are the equivalent of the Marvel franchise, and then there's a group of kids that are the equivalent of the DC franchise, and they're making their plans as to how, which movies are going to come first in their line of superhero movies, and then when the Netflix shows are going to kick in, and like they make fun of like the other franchises and how they're doing things, and it's as a superhero fan, it's pretty funny to see. Yeah, a lot of, like I said, a lot of show callbacks. Like if you never watch the show or like rarely watch the show, there's probably a lot of things. There's probably things in there that are happening that I have no idea what's going on. But you kind of just have to understand this is the South Park world that they've built, and 20 plus years of doing the show. They have a lot to choose from and a lot to pull from. So, yeah, I am enjoying it, and I am plowing my way through in hopes of freeing up my PlayStation for Assassin's Creed, because, whoo boy, I'm ready for that game, Colin.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I will only be playing when my Switch is charging, because I run it out of juice while playing Mario, so.
That's why you got to get the second charging adapter, man.
Oh, I know. I do. Don't worry. I have all the things, Colin. I'm just, at some point I'm going to need a break from Mario, and that palate cleanser will be Assassin's Creed Egypt.
I think the break will be when you finish it. That'll be your break.
No, because I'll just want to play it again. Or by then, the story of DLC for Breath of the Wild is going to come out, and I'll be right back into that.
Oh man,
that's hitting in November or December.
Maybe
they said this holiday.
And they did, maybe.
They didn't say winter, they said holiday.
We'll see.
Holiday means before Christmas, Colin.
We'll see. When do you think we're going to get one more direct this year, I'm assuming?
Oh, so. 100%. They just need to get Mario out. Xenoblade comes out the first.
And then they have Animal Crossing Pocket Camp. So, but yeah, so in 2 days is the best entertainment day of the year. So I hope everyone goes out and enjoys Mario, enjoys Assassin's Creed, enjoys Wolfenstein, enjoys Stranger Things Season 2.
Jigsaw movie comes out also.
Horror fans, you got the Jigsaw movie, and there's another, isn't there another? I feel like there's another horror movie coming out.
Taking the day off from work.
In a couple weeks, Thor comes out, so.
Yep.
So some good stuff.
So many good things coming out, Colin. It's an exciting time to play video games.
Indeed.
The thing is, like, after Friday, there's only a few big releases left. Call of Duty, Battlefront. Anything else?
Third party wise, PUBG will be on Xbox, I'm assuming it's going to be in December in early access, so that's pretty big.
Yeah.
And then Xenoblade, like you said, comes out December 1st.
Right.
Or not December. It's some early in December. And then
Sonic Forces. Lego Marvel Superheroes.
Yeah, that's gonna be cool. That's
LA Noire remastered. The Xbox One X comes out.
Yep.
Resident Evil Revelations for the Switch. Dead Rising 4 comes to PS4 finally.
Yeah, I think Battlefront is like the last big AAA game.
Yeah. Like, not remastered, yeah. Everything else is pretty much remastered or special editions. So, man, we're doing it, Colin.
Oh, man.
We're getting through the fall season.
I don't know how.
And then, hopefully, we'll have January to play all these things.
We always say that. And in the past 2 years, it's been like, here's like 3 games that we couldn't make in the winter.
Resident Evil 7 come out in January?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the year prior to that Dying Light came out, which was also excellent.
Mm-hmm. All the things, Colin.
My gosh.
And then, Far Cry, then Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yep.
And whatever else we don't know about yet.
Yeah.
So many things.
Few DLCs in December. Very excited about that.
Woo! It's a good time to be playing video games, Colin.
Yep.
We'll be back next week with our etc. episode. Not quite sure what we're doing yet, but we will come up with something, as we always do. If we could be bothered to pull away from Mario. Like, we might actually just play Mario on the show with each other.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. We can have live commentary.
Where are you at? Oh yeah, where are you at? How you do this? How you get this little moon bit?
But where are you at now?
Yeah.
No, but where are you at now?
But seriously, where are you at now? Yeah, so that'll be next week. And then, like, eventually we'll get back to Nintendo, because we got a lot of Nintendo things to talk about.
Yes, we do.
A lot of Nintendo things, and that's a good thing. I appreciate that. Until then, Colin, where could people find you at?
They can find me on Twitter at PDX_geek. They can also add me on Xbox Live if they want to play some Destiny 2 with me.
Yeah, everybody go do that. You can find me on Twitter at The Noise with a Y. Follow the show on Twitter at Joys of Games. Oh, speaking of which, can I just say that I'm pretty sure at this point I am the one that broke the news about Switch games coming to Red boxes. Have you heard other podcasts pick that up after I tweeted out that photo?
No, I actually saw it at Redbox the other day, and then it was the same day you tweeted it out. I was like, oh, that's weird. How did they do Switch games on there? I didn't look any further into it, but yeah.
Yeah.
And then Redbox tweeted you, and then it kind of blew up from there.
Yeah, and then that's when other podcasts started talking about it. They're like, oh, yeah, this is happening. I'm like, come on, guys. I broke the news. Give me some credit. Because Redbox definitely wasn't advertising it happening.
Nope.
Until after the fact, so. Anyway, just saying. You can find all that good random breaking news on Twitter at Joys of Games. If you ever want to email us, shoot us an email, joysofgames@gmail.com. I hope everybody picks up whatever games they want to pick up this week. Also, the Super NES Classic is getting a re-release, restocked at Toys R Us's. I think GameStop too, maybe?
Yeah, on Friday.
Yeah. So that's cool.
Yeah.
Go pick one up if you didn't already. Until next time, Colin, and everybody out there, play some games. Enjoy them. Good night.
Happy Halloween.